The alarm bell rang through the research ship Starlight Herald at exactly 0347 hours. Dr. Emma Clark jumped from her sleep and ran to the communications room. Her bare feet slapped against the cold metal floor as she rushed down the narrow hallway. Jake Morrison was already at his station, headphones pressed tight against his ears. His face was pale in the blue light of the screens. "Emma, you need to hear this," he said without looking up. She grabbed a spare headset and plugged it in. At first, all she heard was static. Then through the noise came a sound that made her blood run cold. It was crying. Not human crying, but something else. Something desperate. "Where is this coming from?" Emma asked. "Outer Rim. Kepler 442b system." Jake's fingers danced over the controls, trying to clean up the signal. "It started 20 minutes ago. Weak signal, but it keeps repeating." Emma knew that system. It was home to the Zephyrians, a peaceful alien race that looked like living crystals. They had helped humans before, saving an entire colony from a deadly disease. The Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy as healers and diplomats. "They never fought anyone. Can you make it clearer?" Emma asked. Jake nodded and adjusted several dials. The crying became louder, and then Emma heard words. Not English words, but the musical language of the Zephyrians. She had studied it for years, but these sounds were different. Broken. Terrified. "Get Amy," Emma said. "We need a translation." Dr. Amy Rodriguez arrived 15 minutes later, still in her pajamas. Amy was the best language expert on the ship. She could speak 12 alien languages and understand 20 more. She listened to the signal for a long time without saying anything. "Well?" Emma asked. Amy's face was grim. "They're asking for help. But not just any help. They're asking for—" She paused, checking her translation again. "They're asking for the humans from the Deathworld." Emma felt confused. Deathworld. Earth was classified as a dangerous planet by galactic standards, but humans lived there just fine. Most aliens thought Earth was too violent and unpredictable. Too many storms, earthquakes, and predators. But it was home. "What else are they saying?" Jake asked. Amy listened more. "Something is hunting them. Killing them. They call it the Devourers? No, that's not right. The Ravagers. Something that eats everything." Her voice got quieter. "They say their cities are falling. Their people are dying. They've sent messages to the Galactic Council, but no help is coming." Emma grabbed the ship's communication system and sent an emergency message to Earth. The signal would take hours to reach home, but this couldn't wait. On Earth, Captain Ben Hayes was drinking his morning coffee at Luna Command when the message arrived. Ben was a calm man who had seen many battles, but Emma's words made him stop drinking. "Priority message from the Starlight Herald," his assistant said. "The Zephyrians are under attack." Ben read the full report twice. The Zephyrians were good people. When the human colony on New Texas got hit by the red fever, Zephyrian healers had traveled across the galaxy to help. They saved thousands of human lives and never asked for anything in return. "Get me Admiral Morgan," Ben said. "Emergency priority." Admiral Lisa Morgan was in a meeting when the call came through. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had led the Earth Defense Force for 10 years and never lost a battle. "Ben, this better be important," she said as she answered the call. "The Zephyrians are dying," Ben said simply. "Something called the Ravagers is wiping them out. They're asking for human help." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "How long do we have?" "Unknown. But from the sound of that transmission, not long," Lisa thought quickly. The nearest human military ships were 3 weeks away from Zephyrian space. Even if they left immediately, they might arrive too late. But there was something else to consider. "Ben, do you remember what happened on Titan Base?" Ben nodded. 5 years ago, Titan Base had been attacked by space pirates. The pirates expected an easy victory over a small research station. Instead, they found humans who fought like devils. Humans who used every dirty trick, every weapon, every advantage they could find. The pirates had superior numbers and better ships, but they had never fought anyone from a Deathworld before. "The Zephyrians called us specifically," Ben said. "They could have asked anyone for help, but they asked for humans." "Because they know what we are," Lisa replied. "They know we don't give up." Lisa ended the call and immediately contacted the Terran High Command. Within an hour, every human leader in the solar system was in an emergency meeting. They all agreed. Humanity owed the Zephyrians a debt, and humans always paid their debts. Back on the Starlight Herald, the Zephyrian signal was getting weaker. Amy had translated more of the message and the news was bad. The Ravagers weren't just attacking military targets. They were eating everything. Plants, animals, even the crystal structures that Zephyrians lived in. It's like they're harvesting the entire planet, Amy said. Emma stared at the star charts on the wall. Kepler 442b was so far away. Even if Earth sent help immediately, would it arrive in time? Jake looked up from his station. Emma, I'm getting something else. What? More transmissions. Not from the Zephyrians. From other worlds. The Ravagers aren't just attacking Kepler 442b. They're moving through that entire sector. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. If the Ravagers were attacking multiple worlds, this wasn't just a raid. This was an invasion. How many worlds? She asked. Jake checked his screens again. At least 6 that I can detect. Maybe more, Emma made a decision. Send another message to Earth. Tell them it's not just the Zephyrians. The entire Outer Rim is under attack. As Jake sent the message, Emma looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, peaceful aliens were dying. They had called for help from the humans, the dangerous species from the Deathworld. They didn't know it yet, but they had just awakened something that had been sleeping, something that every other species in the galaxy feared but tried to ignore. They had awakened the humans, and humans never let their friends die alone. Admiral Lisa Morgan stood at the head of the biggest conference table on Luna Command. Around her sat the most powerful humans in the solar system. General Rick Stone from Mars Defense, Admiral Kate Brooks from the Jupiter Fleet, and Colonel Danny Palmer from the Asteroid Mining Guild. Each one of them looked serious. The situation is simple, Lisa began. Our friends are dying and we're the only ones who can help them. She pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the Kepler 442b system and the surrounding areas. Red dots marked where Ravager attacks had been detected. In the last 6 hours, we've confirmed attacks on 8 different worlds, Lisa continued. All of them are peaceful species. None of them have real military forces. General Stone leaned forward. What do we know about these Ravagers? Not much, Lisa admitted. They seem to be insect-like. They work together like a hive. They eat everything organic they find and they reproduce very fast. Admiral Brooks studied the star map. It would take our fastest ships 3 weeks to reach Zephyrian space. That's too long. Maybe for normal ships, Colonel Palmer said with a grin. But the mining guild has some tricks. Lisa looked at him. Explain. We've been using gravity slingshots to move heavy cargo between asteroid fields. It's dangerous, but it cuts travel time in half. We could get a small fleet there in 10 days. Define dangerous, General Stone said. Palmer shrugged. 30% chance of structural failure. 50% chance of crew injury from high acceleration. But we'd get there alive, Lisa nodded. This was exactly what she expected from humans. When other species faced impossible odds, they gave up. When humans faced impossible odds, they found a way to make the odds better. What about weapons? Admiral Brooks asked. The Galactic Council has rules about military technology. Lisa smiled coldly. The Galactic Council isn't being eaten alive by space insects. She pressed another button and the hologram changed. Now it showed Earth with ships launching from every major port. I've already given the order, Lisa said. Every available ship is being fitted with weapons. Military vessels, cargo haulers, even passenger liners. If it can fly and carry a gun, it's joining the fleet. General Stone looked impressed. How many ships? 234 so far. More coming online every hour. The room fell silent. 200 ships was more than most alien species had in their entire military. And humans were putting together this fleet in a matter of hours. There's something else, Lisa said. I've been talking to Dr. Kevin Stone about human psychology. Dr. Stone was General Stone's younger brother, but instead of being a soldier, he studied alien minds. He understood why different species acted the way they did. Kevin says that most aliens think we're crazy, Lisa continued. They evolved on safe worlds with stable weather and few predators. To them, Earth is a nightmare planet that should have killed us millions of years ago. But it didn't, Admiral Brooks said. No, it didn't. Instead, it made us into something unique. We're the only species that evolved to fight constantly. Ice ages, volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, predators, diseases. Earth tried to kill us in every way possible. And we survived all of it, Colonel Palmer added. Lisa nodded. More than survived. We thrived. We learned to use tools, build shelters, make fire, hunt in groups, and fight together. Every disaster made us stronger. She changed the hologram again. This time it showed human soldiers training. Other species see war as the worst possible thing, Lisa said. To them, fighting means civilization has failed. But humans see fighting as just another tool. We don't like it, but we're very good at it. General Stone stood up. What are our orders? Simple, Lisa replied. Save the Zephyrians. Stop the Ravagers. Use whatever methods are necessary. Admiral Brooks raised an eyebrow. Whatever methods? The Galactic Council has rules about chemical weapons, biological warfare, and explosive devices, Lisa said. Those rules don't apply to humans defending their friends. The room got very quiet. Everyone understood what Lisa was saying. Humans were about to fight a war using tactics that other species considered barbaric. The aliens think we're savages anyway. Colonel Palmer said, might as well prove them right. Lisa activated her communication system. All human forces, this is Admiral Morgan. Operation Earthfall is now active. Our mission is simple. Save our friends and destroy their enemies. Use every weapon, every tactic, every advantage we have. Show the galaxy what humans do to those who hurt the innocent. Across the solar system, humans began to move. On Mars, factories that normally made mining equipment started producing military weapons. In the asteroid belt, miners loaded their ships with explosives. On Earth's moon, scientists worked around the clock to develop new weapons designed specifically to fight insect-like enemies. Captain Nina Brooks commanded the destroyer Iron Wolf. She was one of the first captains chosen for the advance fleet. Her ship was fast and deadly, perfect for the dangerous mission ahead. How long to reach the Zephyrian system? She asked her navigator. 9 days, 18 hours using Colonel Palmer's slingshot route, came the reply. And how long can the Zephyrians hold out? Her communications officer checked the latest reports. Unknown, Captain. The signals are getting weaker. Nina looked at her crew. They were all volunteers. Every person on her ship had chosen to risk their life for aliens they had never met. This was what made humans different from other species. All ships, this is Captain Brooks, she announced over the fleet communication system. We're about to do something that the galaxy thinks is impossible. We're going to fly across space faster than anyone has ever flown before, and we're going to fight an enemy that has never been defeated. She paused, looking out at the stars. The aliens think we're crazy for trying this. They think Earth is a death world that made us into monsters. They're right about one thing. Earth did make us into something different. It made us into the kind of people who don't let our friends die alone. The human fleet began its journey. 200 ships carrying 50,000 humans, all racing toward a battle that might already be lost. But humans had been fighting lost battles for their entire existence, and they had never learned how to give up. Captain Nina Brooks stood on the bridge of the Iron Wolf as her ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The view screen showed Kepler 442b, and what she saw made her stomach turn. The beautiful crystal cities of the Zephyrians were gone. In their place were massive black structures that looked like giant insect hives. Dark shapes moved between the structures too far away to see clearly. Captain, her sensor officer called out, I'm detecting Zephyrian life signs, but they're weak and scattered. Most of the planet's surface shows Ravager biosignatures. How many Ravagers? Nina asked. Millions, Captain. Maybe tens of millions. Nina felt a familiar feeling in her chest. It was the same feeling her grandfather had described when he fought pirates on the outer worlds. It was rage, controlled and focused, ready to be used as a weapon. Send a message to the fleet, she ordered. Begin orbital bombardment of the hive structures. Avoid areas with Zephyrian life signs. Captain, her weapons officer said carefully, the Galactic Council prohibits orbital bombardment of inhabited worlds. Nina looked at him with cold eyes. The Galactic Council isn't here, we are. Fire all weapons. The human fleet opened fire. Energy beams and explosive missiles rained down on the alien hives. The Ravagers had never faced this kind of attack before. They were used to fighting on the ground, not from space. But they adapted quickly. Anti-air weapons sprouted from the hives like thorns. The sky filled with energy blasts as the Ravagers fought back. Captain, we're taking heavy fire, the tactical officer reported. The mountain lion has lost shields. The Desert Fox is reporting hull damage. All ships spread out and use evasive maneuvers, Nina ordered. Don't give them easy targets. This was where human training showed its value. Other species flew their ships in neat formations following established tactics. Humans flew like they were still dodging predators on ancient Earth unpredictable, chaotic, impossible to pin down. The orbital battle raged for 2 hours, before Nina made a decision that shocked her alien advisors. "Prepare. Ground assault teams," she announced. "Captain," Dr. Amy Rodriguez said from her position as cultural liaison, "no species has ever successfully fought Ravagers on the ground. They're too numerous and too aggressive." "No alien species has tried," Nina corrected. "Humans have been fighting swarms since we lived in caves." Commander Kate Sullivan led the first ground assault. She commanded 500 human Marines, all volunteers, all ready to fight and die for people they had never met. As her dropship descended through the atmosphere, Kate briefed her troops one final time. "Listen up," she said over the communication system. "The Ravagers are insects. Big insects, but still insects. They work together like ants or bees. They're fast, they're strong, and they don't feel fear." She paused as the ship shook from enemy fire. "But they've never fought humans before. They don't know about fire, explosives, or chemical weapons. They don't understand tactics that change in the middle of battle. Most importantly, they've never faced an enemy that refuses to stay dead." The dropships landed in a Zephyrian city that was half destroyed. Crystal spires lay broken on the ground. Black Ravager structures grew like cancer between the beautiful alien buildings. The first wave of Ravagers attacked immediately. They looked like giant praying mantises crossed with army ants. Each one was the size of a horse with razor-sharp claws and powerful jaws, but Kate's Marines were ready. They had trained for this exact scenario, not against Ravagers specifically, but against swarm enemies. Human history was full of battles against overwhelming numbers. "Flamethrowers, advance," Kate ordered. The front line of Marines carried weapons that shot streams of burning fuel. The Ravagers had never seen fire used as a weapon. They burned and scattered, their simple minds unable to understand this new threat. "Explosive charges. Target the tunnel entrances," Kate continued. Human engineers ran forward and planted bombs at the openings of Ravager tunnels. The explosions collapsed the tunnels and trapped thousands of Ravagers underground. "Chemical teams, deploy insecticide." This was the weapon that horrified the watching alien observers. Humans had brought chemicals designed to kill insects. To other species, this seemed cruel and barbaric. To humans, it was just another tool. The battle raged for hours. Humans used every dirty trick they had learned in 10,000 years of warfare. They set traps, used ambush tactics, and fought with a savagery that shocked even themselves. Sergeant Lucas Wright found himself separated from his unit, surrounded by a dozen Ravagers in the ruins of a Zephyrian library. Any other species would have surrendered or tried to hide. Lucas did what humans do best. He got angry. "You want to eat my friends?" he shouted, pulling the pins from 2 grenades. "Come and get some." The explosion brought down part of the building, killing the Ravagers and nearly crushing Lucas, but he survived. Because humans are very hard to kill. Meanwhile, Dr. Emma Clark worked with a group of surviving Zephyrians in an underground shelter. The Zephyrians were beautiful creatures that looked like living crystals. They glowed with soft, peaceful light. They had never hurt anyone in their entire history. "We don't understand," one of the Zephyrians said in their musical language. "Why are the humans helping us? We have nothing to offer you." Emma looked at the alien through her translator device. "You saved human lives once. That makes you family. But your people are dying for us," the Zephyrian continued. "This is not logical." Emma smiled sadly. "Logic isn't everything. Sometimes you have to do what's right, even when it costs everything you have." She turned to Pete Davis, the human sound engineer who had come with the rescue mission. "Have you figured out the frequency yet?" Pete nodded. "The Zephyrian crystal structure resonates at 847 Hz. If we can generate a sonic weapon at that frequency, it should shatter Ravager exoskeletons without hurting our allies. How long to build it?" "Give me 6 hours and a pile of spare parts," Emma grinned. "You've got both." While Pete worked on his sonic weapon, the battle above continued. Human forces used tactics that no other species would even consider. They fought dirty, used psychological warfare, and refused to follow any rules of civilized combat. But it was working. For the first time since the invasion began, the Ravagers were retreating. Commander Kate Sullivan stood in the ruins of what had once been the Zephyrian capital city. Around her, human Marines treated their wounded and prepared for the next assault. "Status report," she called to her officers. "We've lost 60 Marines," Lieutenant Ryan Murphy reported. "Another 100 wounded. But we've cleared 3 city sectors and rescued over 2,000 Zephyrians. Kate nodded grimly. 60 dead was a heavy price, but it was a price humans were willing to pay. What about the main hive? She asked, still active. Intelligence estimates it contains the primary breeding facility. If we can destroy it, we can stop them from making more soldiers. Kate looked at the massive black structure in the distance. It was 10 times larger than any building on Earth, crawling with millions of ravagers. Then that's where we're going next, she said. Around her, the human Marines checked their weapons and prepared for the most dangerous assault of their lives. They were outnumbered 1,000 to 1, fighting an enemy that felt no fear and showed no mercy. But they were humans from the deathworld Earth, and they had never learned the meaning of impossible. Major Steve Phillips watched from orbit as his Marines prepared for the assault on the main Ravager hive. From space, the black structure looked like a nightmare made real. It pulsed with alien life, and streams of Ravagers moved in and out of its many openings. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission." "It's not from our fleet." Steve turned around. "Zephyrians?" "No, sir. It's coming from the edge of the system. Multiple ships, but they're not human designs." Steve felt suspicious. The last thing his people needed was interference from other alien species. Most of them thought humans were too violent and would probably try to stop the battle. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It was reptilian, with dark green scales and bright yellow eyes. Steve had never seen this species before. "Human warriors," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Commander Sisk of the Korvaxi Defense Fleet. We have come to join your fight." Steve blinked in surprise. "Join our fight? Why?" "Because we understand what you are doing," Sisk replied. "We are also from a death world. We know what it means to fight for survival." More ships appeared on the sensors. These weren't sleek, beautiful vessels like most alien races built. These ships looked tough and practical, designed for war. "How many ships do you have?" Steve asked. 47 combat vessels, Sisk answered. "All crewed by veterans who have fought hive minds before." Before Steve could respond, another transmission came through. This time the face on the screen was even stranger. It looked like living rock with glowing cracks running through it. "We are the Threnodi," the creature said in a voice like grinding stone. "We also wish to help." Steve looked at his sensor officer, who was staring at his screens in amazement. "Sir, I'm reading 18 more ships. They're made of some kind of crystalline material. Energy signatures are off the charts. We lived on a world of constant radiation," the Threnodi continued. "Our weapons are designed to kill things that normal energy beams cannot touch." A third transmission opened, but this one showed only empty space. When the voice spoke, it seemed to come from nowhere. "The Voidwalkers offer assistance," the voice said. "We have hunted parasites in the deep black for 1,000 years." Steve's tactical officer looked up from his station. "Sir, I can't see their ships at all, but something is definitely out there." Steve realized what was happening. News of the human intervention had spread across the galaxy. But instead of criticism, it had awakened something else. Other species that had evolved under impossible conditions. Other survivors. Other fighters. "All allied ships, this is Major Phillips," Steve announced. "Welcome to the war." The combined fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships flew alongside reptilian Korvaxi vessels. The crystal ships of the Threnodi gleamed with deadly energy. And somewhere in the darkness, the invisible Voidwalkers waited. Captain Nina Brooks coordinated the mixed fleet from her command ship. Working with aliens was always challenging, but these aliens were different. They understood combat in a way that peaceful species never could. "Korvaxi ships report, ready for surface bombardment," her communications officer announced. "Threnodi vessels are charging their radiation weapons," the tactical officer added. "Voidwalkers are doing something. I can't tell what," Nina smiled grimly. "All ships begin final assault. Show these Ravagers what happens when you mess with the wrong neighborhood." The attack began with orbital bombardment from every direction. Human explosive missiles, Korvaxi plasma cannons, and Threnodi radiation beams struck the hive structure simultaneously. The Ravagers responded with their anti-air weapons. But they had never faced this many different types of attack at once. On the ground, Commander Kate Sullivan led the assault teams toward the hive's main entrance. Her human Marines were joined by Korvaxi warriors and Threnodi soldiers. The Korvaxi were impressive fighters. They moved like snakes, fast and deadly. Their scaled skin could deflect Ravager claws, and their weapons shot superheated plasma that could melt through anything. The Threnody were even more terrifying. They didn't feel pain the way other species did, and their bodies could absorb massive amounts of damage. When Ravagers attacked them, the Threnody just kept fighting. "This is like the old days," Sergeant Lucas Wright said to his squad as they advanced through the hive tunnels. "Humans weren't the only tough species on Earth. We had to compete with everything from lions to crocodiles." "These aliens are like space lions," Private Jenny Martinez replied, watching a Korvaxi warrior tear through a group of Ravagers with its claws. "More like space crocodiles," Lucas corrected. "Look at those Threnody. They just walk through enemy fire like it's nothing." The assault teams fought deeper into the hive. The Ravagers threw everything they had at the invaders, but the Deathworld alliance was unstoppable. They used tactics that complemented each other perfectly. Humans provided strategic thinking and adaptability. Korvaxi offered speed and close combat skills. Threnody brought raw durability and devastating weapons, and the mysterious Voidwalkers seemed to appear wherever they were needed most. Dr. Emma Clark found herself working alongside alien scientists for the first time. A Korvaxi biologist named Vess helped her analyze Ravager specimens. "Fascinating," Vess said as she examined a dead Ravager under a microscope. "Their nervous system is completely distributed. No central brain." "Like Earth ants," Emma agreed, "but more complex. They can adapt to new situations, but only as a group." A Threnody engineer named Quartzfire joined the conversation. His voice sounded like rocks falling. "On our world, we face similar creatures. Silicon-based hive minds that ate our crystal cities. We learned to disrupt their communication networks." "How?" Emma asked. "Electromagnetic pulse weapons," Quartzfire explained. "But these Ravagers are biological, not silicon. You would need something different." Emma thought for a moment. "What about pheromones?" "Most Earth insects use chemical signals to communicate." Pete Davis looked up from his sonic weapon project. "I could modify my sound generators to carry chemical compounds. Create fake pheromone signals." "What kind of signals?" Vess asked. Emma grinned. "Panic signals. Fear responses. Signals that tell the hive to scatter and run." While the scientists worked on their new weapon, Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Murphy led a strike team toward the hive's core. Intelligence suggested that the main breeding chamber was located deep underground. Her team included humans, Korvaxi, and even one Voidwalker whose name she couldn't pronounce. The Voidwalker looked like empty space in the shape of a person, but it fought like a demon. "Movement ahead," the Voidwalker whispered. Its voice seemed to come from inside her head. Rachel held up her hand and the team stopped. Around the corner they could hear the sound of thousands of Ravagers moving together. "How many?" she asked quietly. "All of them," the Voidwalker replied. Rachel looked at her team. 20 fighters against an entire hive. Any sane person would retreat, but none of them were from safe, peaceful worlds. They were all from places that had tried to kill them since birth. "Remember," Rachel said softly, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive an unfair one." She pulled out a device that Pete Davis had given her. It was his new pheromone dispersal system, loaded with chemical signals that would hopefully confuse the Ravager hive mind. "On my mark," she whispered. "We hit them with everything we have. Chemical weapons, explosives, fire, and pure stubborn refusal to die." The team prepared for battle. Human weapons, Korvaxi plasma guns, Threnody radiation cannons, and whatever mysterious weapons the Voidwalker carried. "Mark," Rachel said quietly. The attack was chaos. Chemical clouds filled the tunnels, making the Ravagers confused and disoriented. Explosions collapsed sections of the hive. Fire spread through the organic structures. But most importantly, the fake pheromone signals worked. For the first time since the invasion began, the Ravager hive mind broke down. Individual Ravagers began fighting each other instead of the invaders. The alliance of Deathworld species pushed deeper into the hive, fighting with a coordination that came from shared understanding. They all knew what it meant to face impossible odds. They all knew how to win anyway. Commander Greg Foster stood in the ruins of the main Ravager hive, watching his soldiers tend to the wounded. The battle was over, but the cost had been terrible. Nearly a third of the human forces were dead or badly injured. The Korvaxi had lost half their warriors. Even the tough Threnody had taken heavy casualties. But they had won. The Ravager hive mind was broken, their breeding chambers destroyed. The few survivors had scattered to the far edges of the system, no longer a threat to anyone. Sir? Sergeant Lucas Wright called out. The Zephyrians want to speak with you. Greg turned to see a group of the crystal aliens approaching. They moved slowly, their normally bright glow dimmed by grief and exhaustion. Behind them came thousands more, emerging from hiding places throughout the ruined city. The leader of the Zephyrians was an ancient being named Crystal Song of Mourning. She spoke through a translation device that turned her musical language into words humans could understand. Commander Foster, she said, we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You came from across the galaxy to save people you barely knew. You sacrificed your own lives for ours. Greg felt uncomfortable with the praise. We just did what was right. You helped us once, so we helped you. But it was more than that, Crystal Song of Mourning continued. No other species would have attempted this rescue. They would have said it was impossible. They would have mourned our loss and moved on. Maybe, Greg admitted. But humans don't give up on friends. The Zephyrian leader gestured to her people. We wish to share our healing technology with all the species that helped us. Your wounded will be cared for with our most advanced medical knowledge. Dr. Emma Clark looked up from an injured Marine she was treating. That's very generous, but we can't ask you to. You are not asking, Crystal Song of Mourning interrupted gently. We are offering. It is the least we can do. Over the following days, something remarkable happened. Zephyrian healers worked alongside human medics, Korvaxi doctors, and Threnody engineers. Species that had never worked together before found ways to combine their knowledge. Human combat medicine was rough, but effective. Zephyrian healing was gentle but slow. Korvaxi treatments were fast but painful. Threnody methods were strange but worked on injuries that nothing else could fix. Together, they saved lives that would have been lost. Dr. Amy Rodriguez spent her time documenting everything that had happened. She interviewed soldiers from all 4 species, trying to understand how they had worked together so well. It's simple, Major Steve Phillips told her during one interview. We all know what it's like to fight for survival. We understand each other. But you had never worked with these species before, Amy pointed out. Didn't matter, Steve replied. A warrior is a warrior no matter what planet they're from. Commander Sisk of the Korvaxi agreed. On our world, we learned that sometimes violence is the only answer to violence. Peaceful species do not understand this. They think diplomacy can solve everything. And when diplomacy fails, Amy asked, then you need someone willing to do what peaceful people cannot, Sisk answered. Quartzfire, the Threnody engineer, put it differently. Soft worlds make soft people. Hard worlds make hard people. When soft people face real danger, they need hard people to protect them. The Voidwalker she interviewed was even more direct. Some things can only be stopped by force. The Ravagers were one of those things. Amy began to understand what had really happened. The galaxy was divided into 2 types of species, those from safe worlds and those from dangerous ones. The safe world species were more numerous and more advanced, but they had forgotten how to fight real wars. The dangerous world species were fewer and often less technologically advanced, but they remembered what it meant to survive against impossible odds. News of the victory spread across the galaxy quickly. The reaction was mixed. Some species were grateful. They praised the courage of the Deathworld Alliance and thanked them for stopping a threat that could have spread throughout the galaxy. Other species were horrified. They saw the tactics used by humans and their allies as barbaric and uncivilized. Chemical weapons, biological warfare, and explosive devices were considered war crimes by galactic law. But Admiral Lisa Morgan didn't care about galactic law. She was standing before the Galactic Council for the first time, invited to explain humanity's actions. The council chamber was a beautiful building on the neutral world of Harmony Prime. Representatives from 200 species sat in a great circle, all of them staring at the small human woman who had somehow changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Morgan, the council leader said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes, the council has concerns about human military tactics. Lisa looked around the chamber. She saw species that looked like flowers, others that resembled clouds of gas, and some that were pure energy. All of them beautiful, all of them peaceful, and all of them completely helpless against real threats. What concerns? Lisa asked simply. Your forces used weapons that violate 17 different galactic treaties, another council member said. Chemical warfare is banned. Biological weapons are forbidden. Orbital bombardment of inhabited worlds is prohibited. Lisa nodded. You're right. We broke your rules. The chamber fell silent. Most species would have made excuses or argued about technicalities. Humans just admitted what they had done. However, Lisa continued, your rules assume that everyone follows them. The Ravagers didn't sign your treaties. They don't care about your laws. They would have eaten every peaceful species in the galaxy if someone hadn't stopped them. That doesn't justify, the council leader began. With respect, Lisa interrupted. Yes, it does. You can have all the rules you want about civilized warfare, but when you face an enemy that doesn't follow any rules, you need someone willing to break them. She looked around the chamber again. How many of you have real military forces? How many of you could have stopped the Ravagers? The silence that followed was her answer. I thought so, Lisa said. You've been protected by peace for so long that you've forgotten how to fight. But the universe is a dangerous place. There are things out there that diplomacy cannot stop. A representative of the peaceful Eldari species stood up. Are you suggesting that violence is the solution to every problem? No, Lisa replied. I'm suggesting that violence is the solution to some problems. And when those problems arise, you need people who know how to use violence effectively. People like humans? The council leader asked. People like humans, Korvaxi, Threnodi, and Voidwalkers, Lisa confirmed. Species that evolved on worlds that tried to kill us. Species that learned to fight because the alternative was extinction. She paused, choosing her words carefully. You can hate us for what we are. You can fear us for what we're capable of. But when the next threat comes, and there will be a next threat, you'll call us again. Because we're the ones who answer when peaceful people are in danger. Admiral Lisa Morgan left the council chamber that day, knowing that the galaxy would never be the same. The Deathworld species had revealed themselves as the guardians of galactic peace. Over the following months, a new organization formed, the Deathworld Defense Pact. It was a military alliance between all species that had evolved under extreme conditions. They would protect the peaceful species of the galaxy from threats that diplomacy couldn't handle. Earth became the headquarters of this new alliance. Humans, with their experience in warfare and their willingness to sacrifice for others, became the acknowledged leaders of the Deathworld species. The Zephyrians built a memorial on their homeworld. It listed the names of every human, Korvaxi, Threnodi, and Voidwalker who had died saving their world. The inscription, written in the musical language of the Zephyrians, translated to, they came from far away to die for strangers. This is what love looks like. Dr. Emma Clark visited the memorial often during the reconstruction of the Zephyrian world. She would stand there reading the names of friends who would never go home. Do you regret it? Crystal Song of Mourning asked her one day. Emma thought about the question for a long time. So many good people had died. So many families would mourn forever. No, she finally answered. We did what we had to do. We saved innocent lives. That's what humans do. Even when it costs everything. Emma looked up at the alien stars, thinking about Earth and the dangerous world that had made her species what they were. Especially then, she said. The galaxy was safer now. Protected by species that understood the true price of peace. They were the guardians in the dark, the ones willing to fight so others could live in safety. They were the Deathworld Alliance, and they would never sleep while innocents suffered.